Tipping, gratuities, it's one of the areas that we get the most questions about. So today we're going to tell you everything you need to know on the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. Hello and welcome to the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. I'm Chris Forbeck, one of the agents with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, we're continuing our DCL 101 series, and we're getting you ready for your Disney cruise. And sometimes I feel like these DCL 101 shows might be, all right, well, let's just say it, they can be a little bit boring, but I think they're BBI, boring but important. And today we're going to talk about what are the topics that I know Elaine and I get so many questions about. It's tipping and gratuities. With that, let me bring in Elaine, my colleague with Dreams Unlimited Travel, agent Elaine Edwards. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, friends. And we can never be boring. We are going to make this so exciting.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of good stuff to know. So we're going to get into all of that in just a moment. But first, let me quickly pay the bills. This show, along with everything we do at the Diz Unlimited, DCL Fan, UO Fan, all of it brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. We're experts at helping you plan that magical Disney cruise, a visit to a Disney theme park. Oh, this summer, no better time to visit Disney parks, let me tell you. Your Universal adventure. I got to go to Epic. It's so cool. Even other cruise lines. No additional cost to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel, none. But we're going to give you insights into your Disney ship, your Disney trip, all Universal. We've been all over Epic Universe. It's been awesome. And by booking your cruise with Dreams Unlimited Travel, we'll give you a shipboard credit up to $1,000, depending on the price of your cruise. I know everyone always says you're not getting anything for free. Well, you're getting free money to spend on board. It doesn't cost you a dime. Not bad. Best way to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And as always, our moment of transparency. Well, the whole thing is transparent, but yes, Elaine and I are both Dreams Unlimited Travel agents. This is our job. But we really love Disney. We love Disney Cruise Line. We want you to have the best time possible. Our job, both here on this podcast and as agents, is to give you information so you can make the best decision for you and your family. We hope you book with Dreams. By doing that, it helps us do this podcast. But if you don't, we still hope you have an amazing trip. With all of that, we've been trying to start, before we jump into gratuities and tipping, we've been trying to focus on a news item. And Elaine found a great one the other day. If you're a Castaway Club member, you know you get free stuff on board. But that's kind of been changing a little bit, right, Elaine?
Yes, and this is nothing official. There has been no announcement from Disney Cruise Line. Because usually, anytime they change the Castaway Club gifts, we will get an email. There'll be fancy pictures, all that stuff. None of that has happened. So this is purely what we are actually seeing happening is that last week we got reports that people on multiple ships we're no longer getting the current white tote bag, which looks like this. This is the one from our cruise last month, the month before, and the one that's been out since basically the Wish, after the Wish came out. They had one for the inaugural season of the Wish, and then everything after that has been this one. Now, before, it was this blue backpack that's a sling backpack. It is significantly smaller in size. We are seeing reports that in the last week, there have been on multiple ships, the blue backpack has returned.
Wow.
And so, like I said, there's been no news, like official announcement about this. My assumption is maybe there leftovers. Is just, or there's some sort of like, inventory. They're just, maybe they were low and they haven't gotten new ones in, and they just had this lifetime supply of blue ones left over. So they went ahead and they pulled that. I don't know. But what the very interesting thing is I actually did ask our DCL Fan Facebook group. I brought this up and I said, this is what is happening in the last week. What is your opinion on this? And I expect everybody was going to be upset, but we have so many people that just started cruising within the last 3 years that they already have a number of these white tote bags and they're excited. about the blue backpack.
They think those are
So
the
it's
new ones,
definitely
right?
half and half.
That's the new thing.
Yeah, it's new for them, and it's definitely
Yeah.
half and half. These are significantly larger, so these make fantastic beach bags, especially
Yeah.
because they are lined, they're waterproof. I always just use the bag. Anytime I go on Castaway Key, I just use the provided bag, that kind of thing. But these are significantly smaller, but they work great for other excursions because this is very padded. It's very insulated. There's like a headphones docking. There's like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're
that
surprisingly
is our
well made.
analysis on the free bag.
Yeah, for free stuff, they're surprisingly well. And the thing they give you with the new one too is this wet dry bag that I really like. I use it for my gym stuff, and I use the white one when we have a farmers market here, and I use that when I go to the farmers market, and it's fantastic to collect all my stuff. So
Yeah, the wet dry
they're great.
bag comes for gold members. So
Okay,
if you're a silver member, you don't get the wet dry bag.
perfect.
And then
All right,
when you are platinum, then they give you like a beach towel, a round beach towel.
perfect. So awesome news. Of course, you can find that stuff on dclfan.com and lots of great folks talking about Disney cruising. So it's a great community. Let's talk tipping and gratuities. And I mentioned at the top that this can be a little, but we get more questions about tipping and gratuities, and people get really confused by it. So Elaine, let's do the top level thing and say people have all sorts of different opinions about tipping and gratuities, and there are all sorts of people. And I get notes, particularly if you're from Europe or particularly on the in Asia and like Australia, New Zealand. Tipping is not part of the culture. So people are saying, what is this? Do we have to do this? This is part of cruise culture, and it's not just Disney Cruise. Most cruise lines do this. It is cut, and Disney, in fact, in their write-up says it's customary to give gratuities. Tipping is the norm here, right? This is just part of something that happens.
Correct. So I know for a lot of people, this can really catch them off guard if they're new to cruising, or like you said, if they are from another country where service industry just get their paycheck. In the United States, it's more that they get their very small paycheck and the bulk of their income comes from gratuities. So that is where this kind of comes into play on cruises. And I will tell you, when you were talking about how people are, is this optional? Can I take it
Right.
off? All of that kind of thing. I will tell you, the opinion is you really need to pay the gratuities. I know that a couple of months ago, someone, again, in our DCL fan Facebook group said, I'm not going to go to main dining, so I'm going to have all of the dining gratuities removed from my account. And he got pretty, or he or she, I don't remember, got pretty ate up in the comments. So just let's be a good person, factor this in. We're going to tell you exactly the cost and the breakdown and everything. Just put this in your budget from the very beginning. When you are planning your cruise and you see this is the dollar amount for my fare, put the gratuities in your budget so that you just know, like, this is an included cost. We're going to do this.
And Dreams has a calculator on its website. If you go to dreamsunlimited.travel/tip calculator, it will take you right there. I'll also have it in the show notes. And it breaks it down. And essentially, so early in 2025, Disney raised the amounts. So it is a standard $16 per person, regardless of age. So yes, the 1-year-old pays as much as the my age person. So it's $16 per person per night of your cruise. And one of the questions we get is, where does this money go? For your dining room server, this is your main server, $5.25. For the assistant server, $4.25. For the dining room head server, think of this as kind of the maitre d' of the restaurant, $1.25. And then the stateroom host is $5.25. This is the person who makes those towels that you have and puts chocolate on your bed and all that kind of magical stuff. So that's
literally picks up your underwear off the floor and folds it up and puts it on the counter.
Which is so worth $5.25 for me. So, but you can and there's additional amounts for concierge. So the average is $27.25 if you're in a concierge stateroom. They used to not make recommendations for concierge, and it was really hard. So
Yeah, that
a
was a
couple of
huge debate.
right, and everyone was going around saying how much you tipping and stuff. So it's great that they have these
Mhm.
are base recommendations. You can go higher if you want. If so, again, as we talked about a little bit earlier, I probably wouldn't go lower unless there's a real problem. If you do have a problem with one of your servers, please go to guest services and deal with that and get that fixed rather than taking it out, because it really does it hurts these folks. So
Mhm.
talk a little bit about prepaid gratuities, because this is one of the other questions that people always ask about. Can I do this before I travel?
Yes, I will tell you it's funny. I in the last 24 hours, I have 5 emails from clients asking about prepaid gratuities. So it's very timely, and that again is a very common question. And you can pay this up front, just like we said, just building it into your budget, paying for it up front, that kind of thing. On Disney Cruise Line, if you're booking directly, you can add that on right when you book your cruise. If you are a Dreams Unlimited travel agent, we do not add prepaid gratuities on until your cruise is completely paid in full, just because of some back end accounting stuff. And this kind of keeps things a lot cleaner. It'll not get so messy and confusing. So we do ask that you wait until you pay in full before you make those prepaid gratuities. You can make them at the same time as you want. I tell my clients that. I said, look, here's your final payment. Here's your prepaid gratuities. Just submit the payment form twice with a different amount, and we'll pay it all at the same time for you. So that does kind of, a lot of people like to pay as much as they possibly can up front before they go on vacation, because they don't want any surprises or anything like that on their bill. And so it kind of just puts you at peace of mind that it's done and it's taken care of. But if you choose not to, they will just, that very first night, they're going to automatically apply the amounts that we said to your room folio, and you will see that already just as a negative coming right off. If you are a client through Dreams Unlimited Travel, again, we do give you that free money, that shipboard credit, and that can be used to pay for the gratuities if you like.
Yeah, your cruise credit is literally just comes off your bill. So people say, "Can I apply this to?" You don't apply it to anywhere. It's just it'll be as a cost in incoming and outgoing. It'll be an incoming, so it just comes off. So yes, you can use it for that. A couple of things, just if you want to change the gratuities at any time, you can just go to guest services. They can do that. If you're sailing concierge, go to the concierge team. They can do that too for you, and it's really easy to do. And you'll just you'll just make the changes and boom, very easy. One of the questions, Elaine, let's talk about. So those are those 4 key positions that people you're going to be dealing with a lot.
Mm.
Other gratuities on board. And let's talk about like bar services and stuff like that. You don't have to tip on those things, and generally Disney adds an 18% gratuity line item on there, so you don't have to do additional than that if you don't want, right?
Correct. So if you're ordering a drink from the bar, yes, you can just use the included gratuity. If you want to give more, of course, the service person would always
Yeah.
accept that. And that is something that goes right to your room. Now, here's the thing. I personally do like to bring not a lot, but cash on board in small, like a bunch of ones and a bunch of fives, because there are other people that you may encounter that you want to tip. When
Yeah.
you get to the port and when you hand off your luggage to that port person, they are not a Disney employee. They are a completely separate company. So I always like to give them $5 plus $1 or $2 per bag that I'm giving them. That way they will treat my bag nicely, hopefully. So they are always tipped. Anytime I order a room service, I always like to give them a tip. I always like to give them cash, but you can just sign it on the receipt. But I will tell you, there has been The last several times I've ordered room service, they did not bring me a receipt to sign. I
Right.
think it was just an automatic electronic thing. So I had no way of tipping them without giving them cash. And then as well, any like extra excursion or activity or anything that you book, a lot of them are going to expect tips. I will tell you, when I went on my Alaska 8-hour excursion that was the best of Alaska, which basically hit 5 different things, every single person that I encountered was had their hand out at the very end of it because they were expecting you to tip them. So just, I don't want to catch people off guard. Even when I have rented a cabana at Castaway Key, at the end of the day, you have the cast member that drives you back to the ship on a golf
Right.
cart. Like, I like
Yep.
to throw them a couple bucks. So yeah.
That's what Castaway is one of the things that we'll cover in the FAQ in just a minute. But one of the things that can seem confusing to folks is you can get a soft drink for free, well, included on your cruise if you get it in cabanas or in the buffet area. If you get it by the pool, it's a refillable. You just fill it up and boom, no cost there. If you get it from a bar, you're going to pay for that drink and then the tip is included. And I'll tell you a little pro tip: the 18% goes into a pool that then gets divided amongst everybody on all the service team on board. Anything above that 18% goes directly to that specific server. So if somebody does exceptional work, then you may want to help them. Sometimes what we do on our cruises is we'll go to a bar, find a specific person that we're going to deal with, tip them very, very well at the beginning, let them know, and then they're going to help you throughout the ship. And like, okay, here, take care of us, and we're gonna take care of you. So that's kind of one of the things you can do. But it's a great way to recognize if you do find exceptional service. And these people are by and large, the folks on Disney cruise ships are awesome. One of the other areas that Elaine mentioned, the porters, room service. Palo and Remy, there will be Palo, Remy, and Enchanté. The adult only, those will include tips in them. For those, I believe, Elaine, it's platinum and pearl. You get included, or is it gold as well? I know it's platinum and pearl. You get Palo included, right?
Oh, it is just platinum and pearl
Platinum and
that you
pearl,
get. That is the only, and we're talking about, when we say included, we mean that you essentially get a $45 meal
right?
credit that you
Right.
can use either towards the set, prefix meal, or towards your a la carte, what you're ordering. And that actually is a really cool, like, really, really, really cool, like, thing that they are giving you, because it's good for everybody in your room, even if those people are not platinum. So I have a
Right.
lot of couples that travel together. One of them will be platinum and one of them won't. And so they'll book with like the husbands together and the wives together so that all 4 of them get that free meal. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. But we do want you to tip on the full amount that
Correct.
your meal would have been. So
The other place that it can get confusing is the spa. The spa, they will include an 18% gratuity in there as well. You can do more than
mhm.
that if you want, but that's included in there. And Elaine mentioned the excursion guides. Elaine, let's just go. Some of the frequently asked questions that we get is it mandatory? We covered this a little bit.
Mhm.
No, it's not, but yes, it is. So you can go and have it eliminated if you want, but the person you're hurting is the people who are working there. If you have a problem with tipping, what I always recommend people is send a note to Disney Cruise Line or put it in your post cruise form that they'll send out. When they ask you questions about how you liked your ship, include it that way. Don't It's really hard if you throw the staff people, and they get tossed in the middle, and they're not in charge of
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, and that's the thing, really, I mean, it's kind of like, when you go into a public restroom. you don't have to flush the toilet, but it's kind of like you really should, to be nice to the next person coming. Like, these people on Disney Cruise Line, and we have said this so many times, they truly are so good, and they are bending over backwards for you. Be a decent human being. I mean, especially like our stateroom host, I always give them at least $100 on top of the automatic, because I know I've made a mess. I know that I asked for extra washcloths. I know that I, asked them for this or asked them for that. And the fact that they are in there every single day wrapping up my cords, even though I just unwrapped it, like, they they are truly, and they're always so, like, they are talking to you, and like, I just, be a good person. Be a
Yeah.
good person. Tip
And
well. I'm one of the most penny pinching people you will ever meet. Like, I am cheap, but just tip well. Don't bring that here. So
and I totally understand and appreciate that there are very different opinions about tipping out there. But just I at least for me, I don't feel comfortable putting the staff members, the people who are actually doing the work. I don't like putting them in the middle of that. So deal with Disney and see if they could just include that in their make it inclusive, a fully inclusive. That would, I think, a lot of people, but you're going to get people who like or don't like that as well. So it's challenging. Just letting you know, this is an important piece of. One of the other questions we always get is, does this? I have an infant. Does the base tipping include the infants? In short, yes, it does. And sometimes they may not eat as much, but they're messy. So that's one of the things. Elaine, you brought up earlier um, I'm not eating in the regular dining room. The challenge is that those servers are not only working just the main dining rooms, they're also going to be out at Castaway Key working there. They're
mhm,
out at the restaurants at Lighthouse Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point.
mhm, mhm.
They're also up in the buffet area. So there's other places. It's not just that one space.
Right,
So
right. And like, I saw our server from our cruise that we were just on, that she was at the pizza grab and go window, like, during the daytime. And then I have even seen, when I sailed in Concierge, the server that I had in Palo, like, the next day she was in the concierge lounge behind
oh
the,
well.
like, case with, like, the grab and go stuff, and she was doing that. So these servers are doing a lot of positions, not just where you see them bringing you food to the table.
Yeah, they're working. They work hard. My goodness. Um, One of the questions that I get somewhat regularly is about the kids clubs, and my kid adores the youth activities team. Should I tip them? So, it, well, Elaine, what have you heard? I've heard that they basically can't accept tips, but if you slip them something, they may be able to kind of take it. But it's not a tipped position, right?
Yeah, so I honestly have never, that thought has never occurred to me,
Mm,
honestly, even though I've taken my kids to kids, like, I just didn't think of that. And my assumption is that it's kind of like when you go to Disney World and you try to tip a cast member that
right. Yep.
maybe gave you a little pixie dust or that kind of thing. They say no because they're required to say no. You
Yep.
try again, they say no again. You add to a third time, out of their, like, kindness and being polite, they will take it. Is this the same way? Probably, like you said. So,
Yeah, they're not under the same rules as everyone else, so it's really your discretion. They probably will take it if you eventually do, and if they do exceptional work. I will tell you, what will matter dramatically to them is if you send an email, and I'll put the email in the show notes so you can do that. Do a cast compliment. That really, really, really does help employees on Disney ships. So if I
Mhm.
always search out somebody who has done exceptional jobs and make sure I want to mention at least one person who's just made my trip a little bit more magical, and make sure and
Oh, yeah.
recognize them. So
Yeah, I went to that, what is it called? The head server?
yeah.
I went to him and, like, chased him down on the last night of their cruise because he needed to know how good our serving team was, especially when I think the first night she made the comment of, "Oh, he hates me," and so every time he came around, like, she just kind of, like, you know, just kinda stayed out of the way and that kinda thing. That is why I chased him down. Like, he needed to know that she was so exceptional, like, that it made a big deal to me and our cruise because the last several cruises I had been on, the wait staff was just kinda meh. Like,
Right.
didn't do anything bad, but they weren't, like, I didn't there was no connection, they didn't really go out of their way, they're just like, "What do you want? Okay, here." Like, and that kind of thing. The fact that she is sitting there and talking to it, like, she came over and showed me something on her phone because she's like, I was thinking of you and I bought this and I sent it to my niece, so I had to show it to you. And like, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
There are times on those ships that you feel like you want to invite them home and have them be part of your family.
Yeah.
I mean, you just
Yeah.
get to know them very, very well. And the ones that really blow in fantasy, we had a great team. Um, the ones that shock me are on the 3-night cruises, because you don't you only have a couple nights, and yet they still
Mhm.
are able to make that connection, and it's so
Mhm.
awesome. One
Mhm.
of my pro tips is, and we're going to go through this in just a second, but on the next to the last night, you're going to get these sheets. It will have all those server team names on there. I always take a picture of it so I know who they were. You can request them if you want to have them again on another ship. It's not guaranteed, but you can put in that request. But I like remembering who my team was, because I'm terrible with names. I don't remember. I barely remember my own name. So it's a good way to remember that. But on that topic, Elaine, let's talk a little bit about those sheets that you get at the. It's like not the last day, but the next to the last day. You get these sheets that arrive in your room, and I
Yeah.
think people are kind of sometimes confused about those.
Yeah, yeah, and they as well will have all 4 of those automatic people that are getting tips, it will have their names on there as well. I will tell you that on this cruise, that is the very first time that I purposely sought out looking up the name and making a note of it because that is how good they were. So yeah, so it's gonna come on a lime green piece of paper that is perforated and you literally tear it apart and put it in these little marked envelopes. And the intention is so that as a gesture of goodwill, you take this to dinner on the last night and you physically hand it to them. If you would like to put give them a little bit of extra cash, you can tuck it in there as well and do that. Here's the thing, I've never once done this. It is not required. You do not have to do it. They will still
You're
get
going to get it.
paid even if you don't give them the lime green
Yeah.
coupon. It is just kind of a formal recognition of the way of doing it. So,
And I don't usually do it either, because I worry about people who do put money in those envelopes, and then the poor cast member is having to open each one to find out if there's money inside. So I
yeah,
go and tell them I'm not giving them this, because because I don't want you to have to go through that, open up another one just to find out that it's just the piece of paper. That
yeah,
doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't want them throwing out one that has cash in it. So I
yeah.
will tell
That
you,
is a good point.
the colors of them are different. If you've prepaid, I think they're yellow, and if you haven't prepaid, I
Oh,
think they're green. So the color will be different based on whether you prepaid or not. But you can, as I say, you'll get those, and you can use them if you want to. I always thank my folks, and I one of my things that I always do is take a picture, take a selfie with my team, because they really do feel like part of our family, and it's a lovely space to be, and they do make your trip much better. So it's great. Um,
Mhm.
the other pro tip is, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want to particularly make note of it. One of the ways that you can help the team is by mentioning them both on the survey. You can send an email to Disney Cruise Line, and that really, really, really does help them. The other, one of the complex things is on the survey that you get at the end. Particularly your dining team is responsible for everything that has to do with that space. And they're going to all say to you that they want to do excellent. And they'll feel like there's a little bit of pressure to do excellent. If it wasn't excellent, you don't have to do excellent, but they are really recognized. If they don't get excellent, Disney does come to them and say, "Hey, what's going on?" So it does impact their lives, their jobs, all those things if they're not getting excellent. So just be aware of that. And again, my recommendation always to folks is, if you have a problem, deal with it on board. Say something, and Disney will do everything they can to fix it. There are some things that are not in certainly your server's concern. If you got 8:15 dining and you really wanted 5:45, that is not your server. They don't have any control over that. But if it's something they can fix, they will do whatever they can to fix it, and they will really go above and beyond. So that's one of the real ways you can help them a lot. Elaine, anything else in terms of pro tips that we should tell folks about this, about tipping and gratuities?
We kind of glossed over concierge a little bit, but I do want to say that yes, it is higher. The reason for that is that you don't have one stateroom host; you actually have two stateroom hosts.
Yeah.
And when you're in the concierge lounge, there's usually four concierge hosts as well, and so kind of the same thing goes to them. If you have somebody that really, really went out of your way, give them more. Just do it. I mean, I've told the story that my stateroom host, when I was in concierge, I knew that there was pillow options in concierge, so I asked, and I said, "Do you have anything that is firmer?" And so he went and he found something, and he's like, "Well, we have like an egg crate," and I'm like, "Okay, well, never mind." He took two pillows and like duct taped them together, wrapped egg crate around it, and shoved it in a pillowcase. And he's like, "Here, I made this for you." Like, I mean, come on. Like,
They
these people are truly, they are proactively trying to help you. And I know I keep saying it this whole show, but just put it in your budget, bring extra cash, treat them well, be a good human being.
And as we mentioned, Dreams does have a tip calculator, so you can plan and know what the amount is going to be. And so again, dreamsunlimited.travel/tip calculator. We'll put that in the show notes so you can find it easily. But it's a nice way to be able to plan this out. And so there you go. And we did kind of gloss over concierge, but of course we did a whole series on concierge, whole show on concierge. So we talked in more detail there. So concierge, you can find that there.
I do have something to mention. When we were talking about, you can just blanket give more than the dedicated $16 a day. Let's say you already know that you want to give, $20 per person per night or
Yep.
whatever. You can go to guest services while you're on board if you just want that charged to your room folio, if you don't want to deal with cash, but you can't do it in advance. So when you are prepaying those gratuities, you can only do exactly what they are. You cannot prepay more to gratuities. So just want to mention that because I do have people that try to do that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And so yes, that exact amount you can't do. The other thing about when you go to guest services, don't go on the last night. There's going to be a big long line,
Mm.
as everyone is going to either get a copy of their folio or something. Find a quiet time, some some other point in the ship on your cruise, and do it then, so you're not having to deal with that mess. So with that, we're going to bring this ship to shore. I hope we weren't too. I think we did a pretty good job of not making tips and gratuity boring, right?
That's right. I told you, we're fun.
Yeah. As I noted, I'm going to pull a lot of this together and create show notes. You'll find that on dclfan.com, and I'll even have some. I'll put that link and even the email, so you can, if you ever want to reach out to Disney Cruise Line about a particular person, we'll have all that. dclfan.com. With that said, we'd love for you to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Literally, it helps pay for what we're doing here right now. And I can tell you, I was a Dreams client before I was a Dreams agent, so I get the value. Best place to start, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Select Disney Cruise. The first page will ask you your itinerary and your cruise date. On the second page, at the very top, there's a pull-down menu of all the Dreams agents. Elaine is there. I'm there. All the Dreams agents are awesome. You can select one, or you don't have to. But if you want to get in touch with one of us, Elaine, how do people get in touch with you?
My email is Elaine, ELAINE, at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And if you want to reach me, Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Yes, there's a Chris. So I'm Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And thank you so much for joining us. Special thanks to our producer. I forgot to introduce you at the beginning, Jimmy. Sorry about that. Jimmy Valdez, our producer, who's such a rock star. And I was having terrible tech problems earlier. So we got it all fixed. And Jimmy was so patient with me and didn't come through the screen and strangle me. So there you go. Thank you, Jimmy, for as always. And thank you for joining us. And thank you for joining us. We really
I love you.
Depending on where you're watching or hearing this, please like, subscribe, leave us a review. It really does help. And apparently there are these things called algorithms. Jimmy knows all about them. I'm not that smart, so I don't fully understand it, but they tell me it's really important. So if you can do that, that really helps. If you have topic ideas, you can leave those on YouTube comments, on the DCL Fan Facebook page. There's also a great, as we mentioned, all sorts of great discussions going on there. Or you can just send me an email, chrisv at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. With that, safe travels, and we'll see you real soon.